There is a truth that society dares not speak. A truth buried beneath centuries of sentiment, moral conditioning, and fragile illusions. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most dangerous minds in philosophy, spoke it without fear. And in doing so, he shattered the very foundations of what we believe about men, women, and power. He saw something others refused to see, a hidden force shaping human relationships, a psychological struggle concealed beneath the surface of love, morality, and culture. He called it weakness masquerading as virtue. He called it immaturity wielded as power. And he warned us that until we confront it, we will remain prisoners of our own deceptions. This is not a story for the weak. This is not a tale of comfort. This is an interrogation of human nature, an exploration into Nietzsche's most controversial and disturbing insights into the psychology of women. There are few names in philosophy as provocative, as unsettling as Friedrich Nietzsche. He was a man who sought to tear down illusions, to strip the world of its comfortable lies. And among his most controversial ideas were those concerning women. He spoke of them not as equals to men, but as something different, something unfinished, something immature. He saw in them a cunning intelligence, a deceptive power, a force both fascinating and dangerous. And for this, he was branded a misogynist, a cynic, a man poisoned by resentment. But was he wrong, or did Nietzsche, as he so often did, see a truth that others refused to confront? To understand Nietzsche's view of women, we must first understand the man himself. He was not a lover, nor a husband, nor a father. He was an outsider to the world of romance, a man who observed but never fully participated. Raised in a household of women after his father's early death, Nietzsche's childhood was dominated by feminine influence. His mother and sister were devoutly religious, embodying the very values Nietzsche would later reject: submission, faith, and moral duty. Yet despite this upbringing, Nietzsche found himself drawn to strong, independent women who defied the expectations of their time. And it was in them that he saw a paradox: intelligence restrained by convention, potential wasted on vanity, ambition twisted into manipulation. Lou Andrea Salome was one such woman, beautiful, brilliant, and fiercely independent. She captivated Nietzsche's mind, but she rejected his love, choosing instead to remain free, unbound by marriage or duty. This rejection would haunt Nietzsche, shaping his views on the feminine psyche. What did Nietzsche mean when he spoke of women's immaturity? He was not referring to age, nor to intelligence in the conventional sense. He was speaking of something deeper, something psychological, something evolutionary. He saw women as creatures driven by instinct, by emotion, by the will to attract, to deceive, to dominate in ways unseen. Unlike men, who he believed were trained for struggle and self-overcoming, women were conditioned to remain in a state of childish dependence, protected, indulged, shielded from the brutal realities of life. To Nietzsche, women were not yet fully formed. They were beings of potential, but not yet realization. If men seek power through conquest and achievement, Nietzsche believed that women sought power through influence and control. But this control was not direct. It was subtle, hidden, psychological. He saw in women a mastery of manipulation, a deep understanding of human weakness, a natural ability to shape the desires and actions of others without force. For Nietzsche, this was not a criticism, but an observation. Women, lacking the physical strength of men, had developed other means of dominance. They became the unseen rulers of the household, the hidden hand behind kings and warriors, the force that shaped history from the shadows. More than a century has passed since Nietzsche wrote these words. Women have gained rights, freedom, and independence. They have entered the workforce, taken leadership roles, broken free from many of the constraints of the past. But have they truly changed? Or do the instincts Nietzsche described still linger beneath the surface? Do modern women still seek power through influence rather than action? Do they still fear the struggle of self-overcoming that Nietzsche demanded of all who wish to transcend mediocrity? These are not comfortable questions, but Nietzsche never sought comfort. He sought the truth. Nietzsche did not believe in resignation. He did not believe in excuses. He believed in overcoming. And so the question remains, can women, like men, break free from the instincts that bind them? Can they become more than what they have been conditioned to be? Can they step beyond immaturity, beyond manipulation, beyond the need for validation, and forge their own path? Or will they remain forever unfinished? Beneath the polished grace, beneath the cultivated charm, there lies something raw, something ancient, an instinct deeper than reason itself. Nietzsche saw in women not weakness, but something far more dangerous, a mastery of manipulation, an unconscious will to power that needed no violence, no force, only influence. Unlike men, who Nietzsche believed were conditioned for struggle, for self-overcoming, women, he argued, had perfected a different art, not the direct confrontation of warriors, but the unseen battle of seduction, of subtle control over those who thought themselves free. To Nietzsche, this was not strength, but a kind of arrested development, an immaturity that remained unchallenged. He did not see this as conscious deception, but as an instinctual strategy, a survival mechanism refined over centuries. When denied the sword, one must learn to wield the whisper, the glance, the carefully timed withdrawal of affection. To Nietzsche, the feminine will to power was not in conquering lands, but in conquering minds. And yet, this power came at a cost. By remaining within this realm of indirect influence, Nietzsche argued, women were denied the true struggle of self-overcoming. They were protected, indulged, spared the brutality of existence that forged strength in men. In this, he saw something tragic, a soul untested, a potential left unfulfilled. But was Nietzsche right? Are women truly spared the struggle of existence? Or do they fight battles that men will never understand? The war of words, the quiet suffering, the endurance of expectation. And if the instincts Nietzsche described still linger beneath the surface, what does that mean for the modern woman? Nietzsche did not see women as one-dimensional. He saw a duality, a paradox wrapped in human form. On one side, the nurturer, the muse, the giver of life; on the other, the manipulator, the seductress, the silent architect of men's rise and ruin. To him, this contradiction was not a flaw, but a fundamental truth. Philosophy had long painted women as symbols, pure, untouchable, or dangerous, corrupting. Nietzsche saw through these illusions. He saw that women, like men, were shaped by the will to power, but their path to it was different. Where men built empires with blood and steel, women built them with words, beauty, and influence. But power without struggle, he warned, breeds something dangerous, stagnation, arrested development. If a woman never needed to fight, if she was always shielded, always adored, how could she ever grow? How could she break free from the role assigned to her, not by nature, but by society? Nietzsche was not merely criticizing women, he was challenging them. He believed the greatest among them were those who transcended their conditioning, who abandoned the safety of manipulation for the true danger of self-overcoming. So what does this mean for the modern woman? Does she still live within Nietzsche's paradox? Is she still caught between the role society has assigned her and the power she instinctively wields? And if she wishes to become more, what must she sacrifice? For centuries, the role of women was defined by boundaries, rules laid out not by nature, but by men, by culture, by the weight of tradition. But what happens when a woman refuses those boundaries? What happens when she seeks not just survival, not just comfort, but something greater? Philosophy, history, and myth all warned of the dangers of the woman who dared too much. The siren, the sorceress, the heretic. She was feared not for her weakness, but for her strength. A woman who transcended the expectations of her time was a woman cast into the unknown. Today, women have shattered glass ceilings. They lead nations, command armies, build empires, but Nietzsche's question remains, at what cost? Power is never freely given, it is taken. And those who take power, especially those who were never meant to hold it, must pay a price. A woman who chooses ambition over family, truth over comfort, power over admiration, she becomes something else respected, perhaps feared, often loved. History remembers the women who refused to be confined. But at what cost? Joan of Arc was burned. Hypatia was torn apart. The women who spoke too boldly, who reached too high, were often cast out as witches, heretics, unnatural creatures. Even today, the question lingers. Can a woman embrace the struggle of self-overcoming without losing something essential? Or is she doomed to stand forever at the crossroads, choosing between power and acceptance? Perhaps the answer is not in the choice itself, but in the courage to make it. Perhaps the answer is not in the choice itself, but in the courage to make it. To climb despite the cost, to rise despite the fear, to embrace both the fire and the ice, knowing that true power is not given, it is earned. For Nietzsche, the highest calling of any individual, man or woman, was to overcome themselves, to rise above mere instinct, mere comfort, mere convention. He saw the human condition as a battlefield, where only those who dared to destroy their weaker selves could create something greater. But what does this mean for women? For centuries, society dictated their purpose, to nurture, to submit, to seduce, to be the object of desire, not the subject of will. Strength was seen as unfeminine, ambition unnatural, independence dangerous. Yet history tells another story. He did not believe women were incapable of strength, of will, of transcendence. He believed they had been taught to avoid it, conditioned to remain immature, not in mind, but in spirit, shielded from the struggle that forges greatness. To transcend weakness is to face the abyss, to reject comfort, to embrace the suffering that shapes the soul. And this is the question left before us. Are women still bound by the roles Nietzsche described? Or have they stepped onto the path of self-overcoming? The path of self-overcoming is not given. It is taken, it is earned, it is fought for. And for those who dare to walk it, there is no final destination, only the endless ascent. If this journey made you think, if it challenged your view of the world, then join us. Like, subscribe, and step forward into the next chapter